Well, my first contact or experience with the School of Ed was not actually after I went to work for Wells, but many years before that, in the early 90s, when I, at that time, was director of admissions at undergrad, and was convinced by some of my colleagues that I should just go for it and try to get my doctorate earned. So I enrolled in the School of Education, which was then called CAE, in 1991 or 1992, and began the PHE program. And was fortunate enough to be involved with CAE and had instructors like Martin Parks and Ann Mulder, who really were more than instructors. They became mentors and wonderful people to have contact with. I also fondly recall someone named George Mahalis, who used to sit us all down, the South Florida cluster, and attempt to get us to fill out our registration forms for each semester. And it was always a bit of an experience and a bit complicated. The thing that I probably remember most about that period of time is that we weren't very technologically advanced in 1992. And I remember writing my MARP, which is what dissertations were called, on my wonderful PC that I had just bought for myself that functioned at 12 megahertz. 12 megahertz. And I can remember, oh, and I used a word processing system called WordStar, which was one of the first systems of word processing that was available. I wrote my MARC in WordStar, and I remember I kept each of the 5 chapters separate, because if I worked on a chapter and hit the save button, I could go to McDonald's and have lunch and come back, and it would still be working on it. So it was a very different world. We had to print out all of our papers and assignments and mail them to our instructors, who would grade them and mail them back. I mean, it was a very different kind of experience than what doctoral students have today. And then in I believe 2000. I left the undergraduate center and came to work for Dr. Singleton, and of course have been with Fischler in various roles since then. But I do certainly have very fond memories of my first experience with the School of Education, which was as a student.